Hey everyone, Chris Gogolin here, starting the Players Committee stream for this evening. It's 6 o'clock here Eastern Standard Time, so hopefully enough players will be around on this lovely, lovely Saturday to watch what should be an exciting matchup here in the OCS qualifiers for September. Just to give you some background update while the game gets set up and going. Obviously, there's a lot of people in the lobby. I expect a lot of people to be watching this game, but I wanted to at least get the stream going. We'll talk a little bit about the matchup, and then hopefully the players will. I'm hoping this is his game here. This game will be between Chriskelly and Greg Shaw. If you look at the overall points for this month, neither one of these guys is going to be able to make a run to get to the top here. Shaw's down here. He can get to 30 points. It's not going to be good enough for him to qualify. And Chriskelly had a slightly worse month. He's only down here. He can get to 26 points. But there is one at-large bid up for grabs from the month of June, I believe. Two of the players who had finished in the top three had already qualified, so that spot was placed at large, meaning the overall point leader for who wasn't already qualified for the entire 8-month period would earn that spot. And we look at the standings. This was through September, through August, so this was done September 1st. Chriskelly had a 3-point lead over Greg Shaw for that spot. But looking at where we are at this month, Greg Shaw is 4 points ahead of Chriskelly, thus giving him a 1-point advantage. Now, Greg could have just sort of sat back and tried to find somebody over here who hasn't really played many games to just get that last game in and try and get the win to just lock up the spot for himself. But he and Chris had talked about at the beginning of the month that if it came down to this and the point totals were close, that they would try and, if the sides lined up right, that they would try and save their last game and play against each other for this final spot. So we're very excited to hopefully see this matchup getting underway here in just a couple minutes, and find out who will earn that at-large bid. The player in third place in that pool was Aeneas 23. He was 6 points back of Chris, and this month he did not gain any ground on them. He finished right here at 24 points, so he won't pick up any ground on either player. And then a little further back was some schlub named Gogolin, who picked up a little bit of ground, but not enough to catch any of these of the other players. So, and then in terms of qualifying this month, you've got Mr. Yellow, who's still looking pretty good right here with his 12-0. Low win percentage, but he's 12-0. I don't think MLs can go undefeated at this point. A Rebel Spy, one of his games had gotten timed out. There was a server crash in the beginning of the month, and like 3 or 4 OCS games were going on at the time, and they got timed out. And it just awarded one player, whoever's turn it was, basically timed out for inactivity and lost the game. Whoever's action it was when the server crashed. So that game has been canceled and will be reset, and then we will find out. All right, there's our game getting up, so we'll bring that up here. We'll find out, whether or not they get that last spot. He gets where he finishes. Whether or not there's a second at-large bid. If a second at-large bid gets created, that would certainly be ideal for the loser of tonight's game, because then the second place person would also qualify, and it wouldn't. This game wouldn't have so much on the line. But with Profundity sitting right here, also at 31 points, and his win percentage has gone up quite a bit. We looked at this about a week or so ago. It was only in the mid-30s. So the people he's played have picked up a number of wins to improve their winning percentage, and his last couple of games have been against people with higher winning percentages. So even if he were to lose at this point and get the 32 points, he might end up leaping over Wise and bumping him down. So still a pretty good chance Profundity qualifies this month with Mr. Yellow, and then that third place spot would be someone who's already qualified, which would not create a second at-large bid. So let's go ahead and take a look at our matchup here between Shaw and Chriskelly. All right. Chriskelly will be playing light side. He is playing. He is the chosen one, and Shaw will be playing I Want That Map. Looks like he revealed EPP Ray as his as his rep, or as his resistance agent. And Shaw's going with the Alert My Star Destroyer match starting effect. So there's we will see a couple different variations of map. We'll see some people choose to use Endor Shield, some people use Alert My Star Destroyer, and then others start Crush the Rebellion, usually, especially against mains where they're worried about clash, especially with Kylo and the shuttle. But he's going to go with Alert, so we'll obviously see him try and match for the Finalizer, nice and cheap, and then he'll probably run a Chimera as well with Grand Admiral Thrawn. I don't know if there's really a third ship that anybody matches for anymore, but that will probably be it. But just having the ability to get those ships out and the deployment modifier on both of them, making them a little cheaper, certainly gives map a stronger space presence. Chriskelly started some foil versions. Looks like he's been busy. He's got Wackling Like My Father and Insurrection Aim High, pretty standard, what you expect to see from light side mains. This looks shiny as well. Did he foil his objective? That does look a little foily. Foil starting effect. Somebody's been busy with his shiny cards. So looks like we got a few people watching in the chat. I sound robot-y. Well, maybe I am a robot. I'm just a robot talking. Let me turn it up a little bit, see if that sounds a little better. Change my volume settings. All right, so Shaw's going to go ground early. He's going to use Mitaka, deploys for free. He's going to get a Jakku location. He's going to get the system. This is going to set up, hopefully, a turn 2 Hux Finalizer to the system. It only costs about 9 force, so it shouldn't be a problem to get all that out. He also gets the Starkiller base site out as well. With 9 force, you do have to be a little leery of leaving Mitaka there. There's a number of light side spies between Jyn and Corran Horn that could come down, but in terms of them plus another character, because they both cost 4, and then that doesn't really leave you much to battle with to cause any overflow, like an EPP or something like that. It'd be 9 total force, which is all Chriskelly gets. So there's a little risk. Obviously, Corran Horn and somebody else could come down, still draw Destiny. Cause a little bit of overflow, which would certainly set you back, but it's a minimal risk on turn 1, especially if you plan on getting him out of trouble pretty quickly. And they'll both pull their grabber shields. Now we notice that he is the chosen one player. A lot of times you'll see people just default to Luke because they run 4 to 5 copies of Luke in their deck, but Luke does lose his immunity to attrition. So Chriskelly has opted to use EPP Rey instead. I assume he's going to be playing at least 2 of those then in his deck. Sometimes you'll see people split. They'll play 1 EPP, 1 regular version of Rey. It's not persona based, it's card title based. So only the copy of the card that he revealed would count as the resistance agent. So if you're building your deck and you're thinking out which card to use, just keep that in mind. If you have multiple versions of Rey or other characters, I think she's the only resistance character that has 2 personas right now, but if you revealed like General Leia or something like that and you have a Leia Rebel Princess in your deck, that she wouldn't count. The second one wouldn't count as the resistance agent. So Shaw draws up to 12 and passes to Chriskelly. He's going to do his normal shenanigans. He's going to get a docking bay. He's going to try and get Wisa to get Boss Nash Chambers out. We're going to see a lot of foil cards, I bet, with Chriskelly. But it's funny, some people were just talking the other day, like, I wish GEMP had foil cards. And it was like, they do have foil cards. They have a lot of foil cards, actually. You can create your own foils. In fact, I actually did a video on that on my YouTube channel about 6 months ago about how to create foil cards. Thank you for letting me know that the sound is better. So I must have just had my volume setting a little too low. Or maybe I am no longer a robot. It's a quick activation for both players, though. They're both already in the teens, or over 10 at least. And we'll probably see Shaw pull. He may have one other location. He may have one other Star Killer base site. Sometimes they also play, instead of that, they'll just play this Jakku, and then they'll play like either the bridge or the prison, the Cloud City prison. Usually it's the bridge because the puller is a higher destiny. So this is certainly usually an interesting matchup. Both players have a pretty good shot at winning. I almost want to call it a coin flip. One might be slightly favored over the others, but I don't know. It feels like a coin flip kind of game to me. At best, it's 60-40. So also kind of comes down to just exactly what type of space he is the chosen one is running. The initial builds didn't really run as much space, but now we're seeing with with Black Sun being more popular, that we're seeing Tantive certainly creep up into just about every light side mains deck. And then they have some versatile utility characters, Solo, Rey, Lando Scoundrel, maybe Captain Hera, people like that can add multiple destinies. Even I've seen Bail now starting to Bail Organa start to show up in more deck lists because of him adding a destiny and protecting it from weapons. We've seen the laser cannon battery and other things like that being added to dark side space packages for the Faline's Fist or for Star Destroyers to take care of that loaded Tantive 4 or Profundity, which is the other ship you'll usually see a lot of these light side decks play. Chriskelly's going to draw big. He's not afraid of the Monarch possibility, especially with him not starting Crush. If he had started Crush, obviously you'd have to respect it a little more, but he's going to go big. He's going to play Rescue in the Clouds and fish out another card as well. And it doesn't get grabbed, which leads me to believe that there's a stronger possibility that Shaw may not be running Close Call. Because if he was running at least one or two close calls, he might have considered grabbing Rescue in the Clouds there to help protect the close call later when he needs it in a key battle. So for all you guys watching in chat, I don't know, what do you think? Which side do you think is favored in this matchup? Or which player do you think is favored in this matchup? Tom, Finalizer. Yeah, if you can match for Finalizer, if both pieces, if you can pull Hux and then use him to use your use pile search for Bow to get PV and then just shuttle Mitaka up. I feel like that's a pretty safe play. Get the early pressure on, get the solid space drain at 2, and then just kind of react more to what HITCO does on the ground for a little bit. Kiss My Wookie says, I think the one from Coruscant will win. Yeah, both these guys are from Coruscant, of course. It's New York versus New Jersey. There you go. That classic rivalry. All right, he's going to reveal and match. So he's hoping Hux is there. He can do it with PV, though. PV's fine. But Hux is the more ideal one, I would think, because then you get the use pile search. But he does get PV, so at least it's immune to less than 8 because of PV's text. Possibly 10, if depending on which characters are there. So that makes it, pretty solid, pretty tough to deal with. And since PV can also be targeted by Imperial Command, that helps you limit them from drawing multiple destinies. He's going to Cold Feet for a shield. He really just wants to get a card out of his hand before he shuttles up Mitaka and then probably draws a couple of cards. Because these are all the cards that he left last turn. He had 4 saved, so these cards here are the ones that he left. So obviously something that he didn't find last turn that still isn't in his deck this turn is probably at the bottom of his force pile. So he thins out his hand a little bit, trying to stay at 12 and under. Draws back up to 12. It's always an important thing for newer players watching too. Newer players always tend to deploy the first couple of turns because they just want to get stuff out and get the game going. And then by like turn 3 or 4, they've got 4 or 5 cards left in their hand, and that's usually where they run into trouble. And they're like, oh, I didn't expect my opponent to be able to do so much. Well, your opponent had a 12 or 13 card hand, and you're both activating a lot of force, and you only had 4 cards, so they didn't really respect your ability to stop them from messing you up. So if you are a newer player and you happen to be watching this stream or the subsequent video, take note here, just how these guys manage their force and try and keep their hand as plentiful as they can. Chriskelly looked for something with insurrection and missed. I guess his Hoth docking bay is probably what he was looking for, and that was not there. That should be his final piece of activation. He probably has the battle plane somewhere in his deck as well, but he is going to escape pod. So he is running escape pod V, so he's going to get a Hujix more likely than not, but there is the possibility, of course, he could have a loose Grimtosh floating around in there. And against map, even lost Grimtosh can sometimes be good. They usually run 5, maybe sometimes 6 copies of the First Order Stormtrooper, which they use with strategic reserves to cancel a few force drains. So if you can Grimtosh lost and take out 2 or 3 of those troopers, you're going to limit the number of force drains that they can cancel on you in the future. Oh, one thing I'll also point out here is we're waiting for them to go through their next set of actions. The Star Wars Twitch channel, thanks to you guys viewing and me for moving my live stream over here, but as well as the other Holo Theater show, has hit the affiliated status on Twitch, which means we can now have people subscribe to us, and then the Players Committee can get revenue from that. And if you have Amazon Prime, then you have a Twitch Prime account. You get like a free subscription or something like that. Expect a more detailed announcement to come up in the next week or so, along with some cool details about that. But if you have the ability and know how to do it already, please, it'd be great if you could subscribe to the PC's Twitch channel. There may even be some cool prizes if you do. Spoilers, I'm not sure. Just a possibility, but I'd bet pretty hard on it. Alright, so Chriskelly just put Obi down, and looks like he just drew a couple of cards after putting Obi down. Staying with a huge hand here at 17, so he's really digging for something. And then he shuffled his deck. He just wasted his Boss Nash chamber, look for Boss Nash once per game pull, to shuffle his deck up. So he must not have been happy with where some stuff was and wanted to move the cards he spent possibly for Obi around so he has a better chance of getting back to them. But Obi will flip the objective. It did let him retrieve a card as well, and he did retrieve his starting interrupt. So now Darkseid will need to get... that's what he was looking for. He's going to fly casual and take the Tanev into hand. So he wasted his Boss Nass pull before playing fly casual to make sure Tanev wasn't in one of these bottom 4 cards. But where will the Tantive go? Starkiller base is Parsec 1 at least, so if Tantive does go here, which it's fairly likely it will, Finalizer could move over, and it can move. Both ships could move back and forth between Jakku and Starkiller base. But I do there is the pot, depending on what other characters and things are in his hand to back it up. There are multiple options here. Tantive with a bunch of guys could go down here. Obviously, there's the threat of Thrawn Chimera coming down and clearing some of it out. The other possibility is he could just try and go big and be bold and try and take out the finalizer. Um, if he's got senses or he just wants to grab the Imperial Command, come down with multiple destinies and try and bait it out, and then go from there. Shaw's going to pay to drain. He gets the battle planes from hand, which isn't really necessary. Chriskelly's probably just going to be, there's 3 battlegrounds already on the table, so he's going to be content to try and take these locations. He's got 13 force. He's got his Hoth docking bay left. That'll get him 1 more up to 14, so doesn't need the extra activation. And then he top decks 1 and top decks a Hear Me Baby. Again, a good card. It's a good card to have. Obviously, you want for getting multiple shields, but all the stuff that this card cancels, counter assault, defensive fire, hidden weapons, ceasefire, I have you now, are very unlikely to be played in a map deck. But Obi's going to sit here, and he's got himself a drain of 2 as well. So, they could just trade drains of 2 back and forth for a little while. But unless he wants to pull the Coward Shield, he's got several shield pulls left available to him. Light side will get to retrieve 1 for being flipped on this side of their objective. The other possibility is that Shaw could try and flip his objective himself, which will shut down the retrieval on the flip side of the objective. No, actually, I misspoke earlier. I just forgot that the front side of the HITCO objective lets you battle for free. So if he had gone down, he could have gone down with Cornhorn and EVP Obi or Rey and battled Mitaka. So that was actually maybe more of a calculated risk, but still a bit risky that early. To have Mitaka just kind of hanging out there with your opponent getting 9 force. Yeah, you got to wonder what he open-handed, but as Mr. Shaw knows all too well, having Cornhorn in your opening hand is tremendously valuable. Alright, there's Hux. So he paid to drain and he paid to deploy Hux. That gives him a few cards in his force pile, and his use pile rather, to use Bow to the First Order, which when you deploy one of these guys once per character, Hux, Kylo, Phasma, Snoke, go through your use pile, pick a card, take it into hand. And there's Kylo as well. Now he's got more than 5 ability. He's got character greater than 4 ability. Yeah, at a battleground site. So he's going to flip the objective back, and his objective is flipped. And he will get another card from his used pile with Kylo. Spectre's out on the table. That prevents you from losing force. And then I will finish what you started once per game. It lets you get a lightsaber. So that will get Kylo a saber, probably, unless it happened to be in his force or used pile this turn. He did not play the shuttle, though. So there's some people have taken the shuttle out completely. Obviously, it is a bit of a risk and a liability because of clash. Kylo gets clashed, and then the shuttle's defenseless. Some people have taken it out altogether, and they just run an extra copy or 2 of Kylo. Some people will start Crush to just cancel the clash, and then you don't have to worry about it. So, kind of depends. The little variations and little subtleties between the builds. He's got 4 force left. There's Kylo's saber. There's an FN trooper. This guy's pretty good. This is the one that cancels Weapon Destiny, but when he's with a trooper, So we'll have to see a second trooper come out. Probably just a generic one, usually. Cancel one. Opponent's just drawn automated weapon or lightsaber weapon destiny is what he does. The other benefit of having this guy here, obviously, is he gives a second ability character. So if Kylo were to get clashed, Hux wouldn't be defenseless. Now you've got two characters. You have a battle destiny. You've got some better power and forfeit. He uses Hux once per game. Once per game, he can get strategic reserves or a first order stormtrooper. He uses that text and takes FN 2003. This guy is the guy who's pretty busted. Use a force to cancel opponents. Character cancels his game text, and they may not fire weapons. So it can be pretty brutal against like Jedi Luke. You cancel his immunity to attrition, and you keep him from firing weapons as well. So battle plan out. Light side would have to pay for this drain. They certainly get plenty of force, though. They had 17 to start the turn. And a drain for 2 without strategic reserves on table seems like a worthwhile expenditure. Ooh, he top decks a Gick. He lost the shuttle interrupt, which he may or may not be playing the shuttle. Probably isn't playing a shuttle if he never used it to pull the shuttle. But then he top decks the Gick combo. That also moves Prophecy of the Force. This gives an extra icon to both players. This will make this a drain of 3 here. However, if Kylo and company get to initiate a drain over here, that will move. Oh, Luke's going down in front. But Luke is not the resistance agent, so that will not flip the objective back. But we'll see if Rey shows up and if Obi moves over. He's got 15 cards in hand, though. He could just go all out here. Clash Kylo. Might have a sorry about the mess or something to take out Hux. This could be one of those interesting battles here. We'll see who's got the tricks, and I think Luke gets a hand as well. That'll let him exchange interrupts. Power and immunity are +2, so now Luke's immune to less than 9. And he's also power 10. He can exchange a card in hand with an interrupt and lost pile. So that lets you loop back interrupts like Clash of Sabers, like Sorry About the Mess. That can certainly swing the outcomes of battles pretty easily in your favor. And there's the clash. Does he have a Nippa Canceller? No. And with him top decking the Gick as well, I don't know if he's playing 2, but this game could certainly begin to become a little bit more defined here with this upcoming pending battle. Darkside won't have any reacts or anything that they can use. I doubt they're playing any type of like ceasefire or anything like that. That would prevent these weapons from being used. Now Chriskelly's got the option for his first action. He'll probably exchange a card in hand and take the clash back at some point in this battle. Depending on what we see happen here. Alright, Hux is going to get hit. And then we'll see if the Sorry About the Mess comes with it. Either one would be a great choice to exchange for. boxes hit. Forfeit 0. No, sorry about the mess. So that's a little mini break there for Shaw. Sorry about the mess would certainly have been pretty disastrous. He will exchange, obviously, to get the clash back. That's going to be a card that's going to be rather annoying, and certainly one that could force being grabbed, because you certainly don't want to see that looped around over and over again. FN will help a bit to get Luke off the table. If you can cancel his game text, you cancel his immunity to attrition, you can get Luke off the table. And if you can get Luke off the table, then the hand goes away, and I mean, he might be running 2 hands. You never know. But typically, you know, you'll just see like one floating around. But it's Chriskelly. He likes Jedi Luke, so I can't imagine. It's feasible to imagine him wanting to play 2 copies of the hand and really tank up Luke. The map objective will force him to use a force to draw Battle Destiny. He draws a 5, which becomes a 6, so he's got 16, so he's up by 10 right now. And this little trooper guy only forfeits for 3. So right now, Shaw is going to be down by 7. He's going to subtract 1 from the Destiny, make it a 5 with a Dark Time. So he's down by, he's potentially taking up to 6 overflow, minus whatever he draws here for Battle Destiny. Hopefully something, well, at least it's a 2 because of Hux adding 1. So he's going to take possibly 4 overflow here. No Sith Fury or anything to take that into hand. And he has to stack a card because he lost a battle because of the text of I feel the conflict. So not a good battle for Mr. Shaw. Excellent, a pretty good battle for Chriskelly. And that will certainly help Chriskelly solidify his ground position, and whether or not we see Obi-Wan move over to back him up is probably the likely play, that we'll see Obi move over, knowing that Shaw's got 11 cards in hand, including at least one of them being the FN Trooper. We do know that Chriskelly does have the Hujix in his hand, though. We saw him take that earlier with the Escape Pod, so he's going to top deck some battle damage. He loses a Dark Time, Sniper, both cards that were in the used pile. Top decks a First Order Stormtrooper and an Imperial Command. Both cards with higher Destiny numbers that I'm sure he would have loved to have drawn for Battle Destiny instead of Snoke. I'm guessing he lost Snoke as well. Snoke got stacked on I Feel the Conflict. Okay. Alright. So Kylo's clashed, but map is still flipped. So this will be a drain for free. And then we look at the flip side of the map objective. Obviously, they're going to have to use or lose force to draw Battle Destiny, where there's First Order leaders. But it's also going to let him stack interrupts from his lost pile. And then once per turn, he can play them as if it was from hand. So the Sniper Dark Strike that he lost, he can stack it and then play it and try and take Luke out. He could also stack the Gik on there as well, the Gik combo, in case he should need that. But yeah, the Sniper here, that's not a bad top deck. And I mean, with 14 cards in hand, you'd like to believe Chriskelly has like a Blaster Deflection or something, or at least a dodge that he could subtract 3 from the weapon swing. He's going to try it. He's going to try and use The sniper on Luke. Will it get blocked? There's the blaster deflection. Is that the card he wants to grab? It is. It's always tough against mains. I mean, typically you've got some weapons, so you want to grab cards like blaster deflection to stop them from looping them over, but with a bionic hand and being able to pull back things like clash and whatnot, sometimes you have to wonder if you're better off grabbing one of them instead. I don't know, they're both kind of annoying. You kind of wish you had two grabbers, is really what it comes down to. If you look at Chris Worf's map list from the U.S. Nationals this year, I think he had 4 grabbers in his Dark Side map deck. He just pulled Oppressive Enforcement, played a couple copies of There'll Be Hell to Pay, because between the variety of interrupts that Light Side has that can get annoying in these types of games, you kind of want to grab all of them. So, all right, there's the strategic reserves, so he can start canceling some force drains here on the ground. Kylo can't move or battle until the end of the next Light Side turn. So this drain will not be a drain, and then hopefully he'd have a trooper in hand to be able to cancel this one. So that's going to force Chriskelly to find some other options for ways to do damage, whether it's getting another drain going at this location over here, playing something like a Sorry About the Mess to get Kylo off the table so he could then have drains in 2 spots. He will have to pay for both of them, of course, or finally going to space here with Tantive and some guys to the Starkiller base, or going after this finalizer. Well, we get the FN guy. And there's Phasma. Phasma also gets a use pile pull. So now he's used 3 of the 4. The only one he hasn't used yet is Snoke. Snoke got stacked on a Field of Conflict. At least 1 Snoke. I don't know if he plays 2 or not. Queso's asking in chat if Shaw has anything to come down on Obi with. We don't know. We don't have deck lists for each player, so we don't know exactly what they're working with here. But you'd think he, obviously he's got lots of troopers in the deck. Could be like a Dengar, P-59, Dr. E kind of thing. Not really likely to hit Obi unless he's got a couple of first order troopers with him to reduce his defense value. Yeah, Chris got the Clash back, and he's got 4 Force saved, so... And Kylo's still clashed, so he's not going to be battling this turn. So I'm not sure exactly what Mr. Shaw's up to here. He adds a first order trooper. That'll reduce Luke's defense value a little bit. Grievous. Okay, General Grievous comes down. He could obviously steal the lightsaber should he live. Grievous could also play an Imperial Command to add a second Battle Destiny. And then with enough other ability and Phasma, that would actually be 3 Battle Destiny. So then you might just have to clear Luke the old-fashioned way, Yep, he's going to go for it. He's going to battle. Kylo's going to get excluded. Chriskelly's going to play Impressive, Most Impressive V, which lets him take the, once per game if opponent initiated a battle, take the first weapons segment action. So he's going to get the first weapons segment action. Trooper Assault. That's going to add some power. And makes 3 of these guys immune to attrition here. But the first weapons segment action that he takes is probably going to be to clash this FN guy out of the battle, because then he becomes inactive, and I don't think you can use his game text. Yeah, he got the clash back. Uh-oh. Mr. Shaw's pausing the game because he has a rules question. I bet he's probably thinking the exact same thing. We don't think he has the sorry about the mess. If he had that, he would have used that in the last battle. He's going to force freeze. If a battle was just initiated where there are no smugglers, take the first weapon segment action or first two if you initiate it. So I guess what Mr. Shaw is wondering is which trumps, because impressive let him take the first action, and then force freeze is going to let him take the first two. But it didn't work, and it let light side still take the first weapons phase action. They may revert it because obviously it didn't work. Yeah, they're going to revert back to the beginning of the battle here. Obviously a weird interaction there that you'd have to get a ruling on, because obviously he wouldn't play it if it isn't going to have any effect. So there's debating some debating in chat now as whether or not force freeze overrules. I feel most impressive or not. I'm going to just scroll back up for a second. Oh, here he's going to play it again. If opponent just initiate a battle, you may take the first weapons segment action. And when you combine that, when you look at, yeah, the text gets rolled back, so we don't get to see the text on force freeze. But force freeze lets you take the first two if you initiate the battle. So unfortunately, I'm sure there'll be a rules question on that tomorrow, because that is an interesting timing thing. Now he jokingly says, by the way, I don't have force freeze in my hand or anything. So clash will happen. FN will get excluded. He's going to swing at Grievous, who's armor 5. He draws EPP Ray, which he Jedi lives, so there's his resistance agent that he'll finally have in hand. Can he cancel that? Does Kylo have to be... Once per turn, stack an arrow from hand to cancel a just drawn weapon destiny at Kylo's site. I guess he can't cancel the weapon destiny because Kylo's excluded, so Kylo's inactive, so it doesn't see that Kylo's out of sight. Yeah. That stinks. And now he'll exchange with Bionic Hand again and take the clash into hand for a third time. Luckily that damn card's unique, otherwise he just excludes somebody else again too. But he loses Corn Horn to do it though. Now I guess we'll have to find out just what exactly he's going to try and steal a lightsaber from his lost pile. There's no lightsaber in there to steal, because the only one in his deck is still on the table. But right now, Shaw's up 6 power. 2 of his guys are completely immune. He won't have much left to work with. He's just going to draw the 2 Battle Destiny. He gets 2 Battle Destiny to Chriskelly's 1, so he's looking at some overflow here if Chris wants to keep Luke in play. Draws 2 Strong Destiny, a 4 and a 5, so 9 gives him 25, so he's up 15. Chris may not have a choice here. Even if he draws a 5 and makes it a 6, he's still down a lot. He's still down 9 cards. I don't know, he could peel 9 cards to keep Luke. I mean, he might have to, depending on how his deck is built. Oh, he draws even lower than that. He draws Kane and Jarrus. So now he's looking at 12. I don't know, you can peel 12 cards. I mean, he's only got 24 down. He's basically going to peel half of his life force to do it. And, for winning the battle, Phasma lets him retrieve a trooper. If you just won a battle at same or related location, may retrieve a trooper. So that'll let him get back either his generic first order guy or his FN guy with the weapon. He's going to get the first order generic guy. Probably need him to cancel some force drains with strategic reserves. I will say one thing though. Luke isn't immune less than 9 Gogs. Yeah. Even if he was, I don't think he could afford to peel that many cards anyway. So that gets Luke and the stupid hand off the table. And the lightsaber. But with no retrieval shield out, no coward, no secret plans even, he could just put Wackling out of play and get the saber back. But he's got to lose. I guess he's not planning on doing that because he's got 3 battle damage left to lose. So he would have lost things in a different order. He would have lost 3 cards first, and then Luke and the hand and the lightsaber. But he's going to lose the lightsaber first. He is going to play the Hujix to save the 3 force loss as well. So that's a successful battle for Shaw, swinging things a little bit back in his favor after taking some early damage. Now 2 of these guys are still excluded, so Phasma and the First Order Trooper are kind of hung out to dry a little bit by themselves. We know Chriskelly has at least Rey in hand, probably has a second Luke. They could come back and do some damage to Phasma and Lone Trooper, because both Kylo and FN would get excluded. FN does work outside of battle, though, so he could, if Rey comes down, just burn the trooper, spend the force, burn the trooper, so Rey can't fire her lightsaber. At least that would be some protection. He's got to save at least 1 force here. Also has to watch his time. I don't know if Shaw's playing on his laptop or his iPhone or what's going on, but it looks like he's might have a little bit of lag, a little latency on his connection, because we're just taking an awful lot of time to think. But his timer's already 12 minutes behind Chriskelly here. He's almost halfway through his 60-minute timer, and he's only through his first 4 turns. The decisions only get harder from here usually, so he's got to obviously keep an eye on that. He moves the finalizer over, and he's going to shuttle both guys up. Or shuttle Mataka down. He's going to shuttle Mataka down. Okay. So he flips himself back to do it, because he doesn't occupy 2 battlegrounds. Shuttles Mataka down. So now he's got 4 ability there. He's got 5 ability, but has the ability then to draw 2 battle destiny. So he's going to play it a little more safe. He gives up his force drain here at Jakku. and flips his own objective back in the process. You know, it's a price to pay, but it's a conservative move. He's trying, obviously, not to get into a position where he takes a good amount of battle damage again. Knowing Chriskelly has the Clash, obviously he could put Ray down, Clash Phasma, and then just beat up on this lowly little trooper. Even just Battle Destiny, 5 power and a Battle Destiny. Say she draws another 4 or 5. That's 10 to 2. It's 8 over, 5 or 6 overflow. So and there's the second Luke, kind of like we expected. I don't know if Luke will have another lightsaber. He's gonna look. It wasn't there. He'll check his destiny while he's in there, though. Shaw gets to verify. And then we'll probably see the FN trooper get used here on Ray. Now, like we said, one of these guys is going to get clashed the third time. It's going to be Phasma, and then he won't get a Battle Destiny because that's only 1 ability and 2 ability. So he still won't get a Destiny, but at least he's got 4 power and 6 forfeit. Oh, Luke does have another saber from hand. That's a good situation for Chriskelly to be in. This could get out of hand here in a second. Now you almost have to FN on Luke. Just to take the 2 extra power away. If he doesn't have the Gick. One's already in his lost pile. We don't know if he plays 2 or not. Probably not. He's going to cancel Ray's text to keep her from firing her weapon. Ray also retrieves a force when she hits. So, doesn't want him to get the Hujix back, I guess. Hit F11 to full screen. I am full screen. You want me to do that? All right, that looks a little better. Maybe some people like my taskbar. Ugh. He reclashed Kylo. Now he's going to Jar Jar bomb and try and take Phasma out. I don't know. I would have done it that way if I were Chriskelly. If you were going to do it this way, I'd have just... Because Kylo was still clashed until the end of this turn. Why not hold off on FN? FN was clashed the previous turn, so he was still going to get excluded once the battle started. This could be game over if Shaw does not have a second Gick. He's down 11, 8 with Mataka's forfeit plus a Battle Destiny. is probably going to be somewhere in the low teens, 12, 13 overflow he's going to be looking at here, which is over half his remaining life force. He draws Kane and Jarrus again, so it's only a 3, but still. He's taken 10. It's Mitaka, the Trooper, and 10 of his 24 remaining force down. Plus he's got a stack of card. Or 11, rather. Forgot Luke makes him +1. Oh, yay, we got bits. That's our Twitch currency. Yay. He doesn't have it. He's top decking 11 cards. There goes a second Kylo. A Trooper. A Command. He does play a second Gick. There goes off the top, along with another Trooper, Force Push, a third Kylo, a third Trooper, Trooper Assault, lateral damage, and a Lana Dobreed Sacrifice combo. But Chriskelly's thinned his hand out pretty well as well. He's down to just 4 cards remaining in hand. Kylo can't move or battle until the next light side turn. Obviously, we'll see the finalizer move back to Jakku. Dark side's just gonna have to try and just drain some of this out, but and then draw a few guys. But I don't know what else they're gonna have left to back Kylo up with. Kylo may have to just run away for a little while. And just hide behind strategic reserves if he has any troopers left to cancel drains. But Chriskelly seems to be in a dominant position in this game now. He's got his resistance agent on the table. He's got a huge force lead. And this game could be over, and we could be congratulating Chriskelly on by 1 point, basically moving into the point lead for the at-large bid. Nah, Tom, he couldn't wait and use the Force Freeze with FN. FN had been clashed, so he would have been excluded from the battle automatically. And then he'd be inactive, and then he couldn't use his text. Oh, hey, thanks, guys, for subscribing through Twitch Prime and Dark Jedi Knight from Basil. All right. Got a couple of subscribers now, off and running. Shaw moves over. Looks like he's just going to draw some cards. See if he's got anything left to work with. He'll pay to drain for 3 at the site. Shaw did draw at least a trooper, so he can prolong this game a little bit longer by canceling the drain, Obi's drain there. We know Chriskelly has the Tantive in hand still, but does he have much left else to deploy with it? Although then again, does he need to deploy much else with it? Shaw's going to burn a barrier just to put another card back face down. We'll see if Chriskelly wants to waste a grabber on that just to get another card out of his life force. He's thinking about it. Yeah, he's going to grab it because then he's only got 1 less card left to work to deploy stuff with. Just takes 1 more life force out of the game. It's not usually a card you would normally grab in this type of matchup, but you know, with life force counts being what they are, sometimes you just grab anything just to take a card away from your opponent. And he does have a solo. Alright, so he's got at least a pilot on it, so it's not completely defenseless. And that's going to get him around battle plan. It's going to get him another drain that can't be canceled. So obviously we're going to see Finalizer's going to drain and then move over, and then what Kylo's going to do. He'll draw a couple cards, but yeah, Chriskelly is in a dominant position right now, so he is really just trying to minimize his risk and just keep the pressure on and not let Mr. Shaw find anything else that he can use to crawl back into this game. Could he Ellis Kylo? Then he's just eating a bigger drain. I don't think he can Ellis him anyway because Clash says move or battle, so you can't move. Ellis is a form of movement. So he'll get a drain of 2 in at Jakku. Will Mr. Shaw probably has to spend at least one of those force moving PV to block the drain at Starkiller base. But I don't know if he can deploy much else. And then Kylo should be free to move now. He's no longer clashed. Yep. No modifiers or anything that we can see. So Kylo could move in front of Obi to block. They're both drains of 3, I guess. But at least there's a lot less power over here. So if you can move Kylo over here, move the ship over here, maybe have another trooper to cancel this force drain. He can stretch the game out a little bit further, but I don't know what else he's got behind it that he can really do much damage with 6 force left and only a few cards in hand. Thrawn. He can't afford the Chimera at this point. Even if he had it, the ship itself costs 9. Yeah, he moves over. But not much that he can do. So now Mr. Shaw is going to have to play the waiting game to find out whether or not Profundity plays his 12th and final game and what the outcome of that is, and whether or not he moves into one of those top positions, or whether the remaining players, Wise and a Rebel Spy, who are currently in those spots, stay there and create a second at-large bid that Mr. Shaw would then get into the top 16 playoff with. He's going to waste a don't do that again. Check some destinies. See if Obi's got a shot at hitting Kylo. Nah, he's just more concerned about a Lost in the Wilderness, or always thinking with your stomach to cancel the force drain. That's good. That's a good sniffing that out. It certainly is a popular card to see in map decks, especially to get rid of Luke or Rey being the resistance agent. But the don't do that again shield, instead of making them missing, they basically become land speed equals 0 for a remainder of turn. It's also equally as important. It would keep him from moving over to back up Obi with Luke. He can move Rey still, obviously, if he wants to. But it also does cancel the drain, so instead of losing 3 to this force drain, he's just losing 1 card from hand. Obviously a little more practical. Now he's going to Jyn Erso down to get an extra drain. Tantive will move to Jakku. Probably see Rey slide over in front of Obi. And this is just a waiting game. This is just a matter of time at this point. Chriskelly only needs to get a couple of force drains through. And with only 6 force left, there's very limited things that Shaw can do to counter them. He's got to spend force moving the guys he has on the table around already, which leaves him even less to deploy with. He did burn the Hujiks, though. Chriskelly does not have his Hujiks unless he plays 2. He'll move Ray over, too. Smart. So yeah, depending on what any of these cards are that he's got left here, I mean, we know there's at least one trooper stacked over here. If he could pull that off with, for free, plus another guy, possibly battle and hit and cause some overflow, but not with Ray there as well now. No, that's true. He does have Solo out now. He could play it from the lost pile. So, yeah, this looks like this is one of those games where we kind of know the outcome. It's just going to take a little while to get there. Unless Mr. Shaw wants to just throw in the towel. Wave the white flag. But, yeah, Solo's text over here. Once per game, play an interrupt from lost pile as if from hand, and then place that card out of play. This works even if Solo isn't involved in the battle. He's somewhere else. So even if he got overflowed anywhere, Solo could still bail him out. Queso, as long as you're in chat, do you want to promote your next episode? When are you and Joe doing Hollow Theater episode 3? Is that going to be tomorrow? So yeah, sometime on Sunday. Be sure and look out for Star Wars Hollow Theater episode number 3. Obviously, Joe Olson will be joining Cherry again. They're going to be doing an interview with Silver Glen, Justin Branch from the UK, who had played in one of his first live tournaments. He just started playing this year. We've talked about him. We featured some of his games. He did just make the top 8 of the European Championships that were held last weekend. I think they're also going to be doing some meta analysis. He says he's aiming for that time window between when the afternoon NFL games end and that Sunday night game starts. So that's like 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, somewhere in that window, 7:30 Eastern. Oh, and there also will be another video from the Euro Emperor, another, what's he call it, Throne Room Theater or something? Throne Room TV, whatever he calls that thing. Where we got some great looks at some of the wonderful things that the PC has created and gave out in the last year, between the foils and the poker chips and all the other great stuff. So very curious to see if he showcases any of the special prizes that he gave away at the European Championships this year, and may possibly be bringing along to give out at the World Championships next week. In the meantime, Mr. Shaw has Phasma and that First Order Trooper from the Strategic Reserves. He's going to drop them in front of Jin, move Kylo back over, move the Finalizer back over. So he just has the one drain here to contend with. He'll pull Resistance because he's got 3 Battlegrounds now. So he can limit the damage to at least 2. These guys are just power. There's no Force Drain bonus there for light side or anything. So it'll be a drain of 2. Chriskelly's got 5 cards in hand. Chances are there's at least one more character in there, so we'll see where he wants to battle to try and force the end of this game. Shaw loses Chimera and Sith Fury. Chimera doesn't have enough force left to deploy. Otherwise, if he hadn't taken that huge overflow, Chimera Thrawn would have gone after Tanev and probably cleared that pretty easily. So you noticed how probably if this is the only ship we've seen so far in Chriskelly's deck, this Tantive, then he just held on to it until, late enough in the game when the threat of a counterattack against it was minimal. So very conservative, very smart plays by Chriskelly in this game. Not really exposing himself to any potential damage and using that clash very effectively on at least 3 occasions. It's one of those things where if you see Mr. Shaw playing this deck again, you kind of wonder whether or not he'll switch from alert to crush. So it's always a tough one because you only get one other effect because you have to start bow and you get that one other effect. You kind of want 2 in a lot of games. You'd want alert, but you'd want crush. Sometimes you'd want some other stuff too, like I'm drawing a blank now. He's got a Leia to back her up. Yeah, so he's going to go clear out this trooper site and force the action there. You'd like to have an extra grabber. You like to have Endor Shield to get your admirals to help make your alert matchups even better. You'd like to have the blaster paying effect. You'll be dead. Play some first order trooper guns on some of these guys. It's really easy to hit people with those guns because you're shooting at +2 when fired by a stormtrooper, and the troopers themselves make guys defense value minus. So with a lot of the deck being 3s and 4s, it's fairly easy to hit a majority of characters in that particular type of build. Oh, he's just going to play the waiting game. Tandem's going to run away. Luke doesn't battle Kylo. Rey just is going to slide back and forth. And this is smart by Chriskelly. He's got a lead. He's got a pretty sizable lead. And he's not doing anything to jeopardize that lead. Yes, you could argue, like, oh, why didn't he just battle Luke against Kylo? He clears Kylo out, and then he could speed this game along and, just get it over with before Shaw finds a way to do anything else. Oh, he's going to move Jyn and Leia over. Again, no risk there because if he drains here at this site, Leia cancels it and puts a card and retrieves a card at the same time. Well, not retrieves because it's not retrieval, but it's the same mechanic as retrieval. You take the top card of your lost pile and you put it on top of your reserve deck. Look at our life force counts now. It's 18-6, so it's a 3-1 advantage. They both have 5 in hand. Shaw does get to retrieve one with firepower, though, because he deployed Leia and doesn't battle, and by moving away, he controls a site in a system. So he gets one extra card back. It's one less card he has to work with this turn, because that force is now in his used pile. But I guess now will be the question as to whether he tries to drain through Leia, forcing Leia to do her thing, just to start making her burn it. I don't know that he has any characters left to go kill her with, so at some point in time, you gotta have to deal with her sooner or later. Oh, that's cool. Part of Throne Room TV, the Euro Emperor will be showing off the venue where they held the European Championships, which is also the venue that will be used for next year's World Championships, because next year's World Championships is in Europe again. And then he's got some interviews with some of the European players. So we'll finally be able to put some faces with some of the names we've been hearing about from all these great stories. Perhaps some of these crazy Vikings we hear so much about, and their epic legendary drinking tales, or some of these other random deck builders who come up with some very off-the-wall ideas that we know only by name and reputation. All right, he does drain. Leia does cancel it. So that's one use out of Leia. She'll get one more. Mataka comes down. We'll see if he shuttles here. He could shuttle Thrawn down. And then move the finalizer. He shuttles Thrawn to the battleground. Okay. I would have thought he would have shuttled Thrawn down to Mataka. Maybe he's going to move the troopers over. Yeah, he's going to slide the troopers over, I guess. I was thinking he could have shuttled Thrawn right to Mataka, left the troopers out here at the battleground. Move the finalizer. Your starships move from here for free, so that's pretty cool. Finalizer moves for free. Kylo moves over and back in front of Obi. And he'll probably save that one force in case he gets to firepower again. Oh, he draws it. And Chris will put Wackling out of play. Uses once per game text there to retrieve a force. To put a 5 on the bottom of his deck. So I guess we're going to see him battle somewhere. So we got 13 people watching in GEMP. We got 11 people watching the live stream. Thank you guys for tuning in with us on this Saturday evening. And like we mentioned earlier, if you have any type of Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime account, we are now able to accept subscriptions. So feel free to go ahead and subscribe to us on Twitch. He gets to drain a 2 through, losing a barrier and a Spectre, taking him down to 9 total force left. Also moves Prophecy. But certainly expect to see both of these decks feature pretty heavily in some variants or another at the upcoming World Championships next weekend. Just 1 week away. In fact, this time next week we'll probably be 6 or 7 games in to the World Championships. We'll be live streaming those as well, so be sure and tune in if you're unable to attend. We have over 63 players pre-registered, and then another handful of guys who haven't signed up yet but have said something about coming to the tournament. So we're hoping to get 70 players, make it one of the largest World Championships that we've had in quite a long time. Chriskelly is going to play Odin Nestlor to transport. Who's going where? Luke is going off planet to the Ewok village. Cost him 6 to do it, but and now he'll just shuffle everybody around again. So that'll be another drain that Shaw will not really have any characters left that can go block. At least none that can deal with Luke. And then once Luke successfully drains here, Prophecy's going to move over, and then it's going to be stuck there the rest of the game. Or at least as long as Luke's still alive. Because of the text on the site, while a Skywalker here, Prophecy of the Force may not relocate from here. So once Luke completes this drain, Prophecy will relocate, and then that'll be a drain 3 for the rest of the afternoon here. Chriskelly's just going to move away again. So, yeah, like we said a few turns ago, it's going to take a little while for them to get there, but he just has the commanding card advantage now. And he's just going to just slowly just lean on him and grind it out. Trooper Sabek, what? Does he have it set? I can't imagine he's going to have a perfect Sabak or anything like that. Neither player has perfect. Chriskelly is shield busted, though. He did play all of his shields. He does have a Hear Me Baby in his lost pile if he wants to burn solo to play it. They both choose passing on drawing another card. And it looks like Chriskelly is going to win the Sabak. No, Shaw wins. I guess he cloned something? He had 11 total. And he chose Padme to be lost. So we had Cold Feet and Director Krennic. Gotta go look up this Sabak now. Wild cards. Imperial and Rebel leaders. Okay. So Imperial leader, Krennic, he can use his value anywhere from 2 to 7. So he had 11, but he used a wild card, so it's not perfect. So he just made Krennic a 6. So he had the 11, and he won. He gets to make one of Chriskelly's cards lost now. And he chooses to make Padme lost, so he will not have, he'll have one less character to do anything with. Also puts another card back for Mr. Shaw, so he can do a little tracking. What order did he put them in? He put the Cold Feet on the bottom, and then Krennic on top of it, and then the Sabak went on top of that. And if he spends 2 force and then draws a card, he'll draw the Sabak back into his hand, which he could use to keep doing damage. Might be a little too late at this point, but it's always certainly an interesting way to cause force loss and mess up with your opponent's tracking and things like that. Although now as Chriskelly knows exactly where a 7 is as well. But he's got no drains this turn. he's just going to move. He moves the finalizer back. See if maybe he moves Mataka or somebody just over with Thrawn. Kylo's going to probably have to stand his ground. But if he does that, then he doesn't have enough battle destiny to draw either. No, he did have one shield left. I guess he did hear me behavior or something earlier. So he's going to pull the your ship shield, which will let him cancel an opponent's card with Sabik in title by losing 1 force from hand. And this will be the turn that we talked about where he gets to drain the 2 off and moves the prophecy over. It's just kind of inevitability at this point. I'm talking about it for a little while now. He's only got 2 force left down, which isn't even enough to draw destiny in both spots. Well, you could draw battle destiny in these 2 spots, but certainly couldn't use the weapon if you wanted to. And even just losing battles and stacking cards would be another way to accelerate this game. So I would expect to see Chriskelly battle in both of these locations this turn, possibly even in space, depending on what any of these 3 cards left in his hand are. If he has one other pilot, puts it here on the Tantive and just battles, just trying to hope to draw decent and win battle, win battle, win battle, stack cards, and just end this game once and for all. Verifies his deck, shuffles his deck up. Just looking to see where he wants to battle first. I battle with Leia first. Leia and Jin. Battle here. Beat up on these guys. And then battle over here when he only has 1 card left. And mess up Kylo. And end this game. Come on, Chriskelly, end it. Finish him! I've got Schwarzenegger from Predator. Do it now, kill me. It's like Shaw's just begging for him to just finish him off. That sounded weird. He's just going to move away. You're killing me, Chriskelly. Just end the game. Just end it. Battle Kylo. It's 10-5. You swing twice. You hit him once. He's forfeit 0. And the game is over. Over. There's 2 Gicks in the lost pile already. And he's on the 0 side of the objective, so we can't play one of them again. Shuttle up, move away, move away, move away. He's actually going to lose some cards this turn. I mean, he's got force to spare. He's got 19 down. So, I mean, he certainly has force to spare, but Oh, and thank you, Dark Jedi, for donating some bits. That's what the benefit of having the Twitch Prime subscription thing is you can donate bits and whatnot to your favorite channels. And you can get bits either by paying real money or by watching ads and things. It's my very limited understanding of Twitch, how you can generate revenue through Twitch. So hopefully there'll be more of those details in the official announcement whenever that is published. Shaw will get drains of 2 and 1 in this turn at Jakku and the village. He'll lose a Chewy from reserve deck, a Wisa off the top. Was his destiny really just that bad? He loses a Wisa from hand. Shaw's only got 3 force left. Oh, he does get a drain of 2 with Kylo as well, which Leia gets to cancel from space. Because Leia's stupid. Cancel. May place top card of Lost Pile on top of reserve deck to cancel a force drain at a related site. So as long as she's in space, she can cancel a drain at a site. Now Leia has been used both times, so there's her second use. So she can't cancel any more drains, but he shuttles up Phasma and the First Order Trooper. And we'll see the Finalizer move over to the Starkiller base. We'll see Kylo move out to this site. And that'll be all the force he can spend. Meanwhile, he'll get drained over here. Only for 2 because of resistance, capping it. He's going to play an interrupt from his Lost Pile. He hasn't lost a sorry about the mess. Clash. Clash number 4. He's going to clash Kylo to keep Kylo from moving back over to block his drain. So he can't follow him when he moves back in here. So he'll drain over here. He'll move the Tanef back to Jakku. He'll move these guys inside, or one of these guys inside. He'll leave the other one to block Kylo from draining because Kylo can't add. And Greg Shaw finally waves the white flag, throws in the towel. So Chriskelly is your winner. Chriskelly will move into first place, or remain in first place in the overall at-large bid standings, and Mr. Shaw will have to sit back and wait and see what happens with Profundity and whether or not he gets his last game in. So congratulations to Chriskelly, and excellent match played by him, and both players offering each other good luck in upcoming events. Class acts on both. Thank everybody for watching and tuning in tonight, And for those of you who subscribed to Twitch and donated some bits and things. And like I said, look forward to the next episode of the Holo Theater Show happening tomorrow. Get out of full screen. And we'll go back to the GEMP lobby and just see now that the points have updated. See if there's anybody else. Obviously, there's a couple other OCS games still left to play, but yeah, that's going to finish up the standings, and that's going to do it for Mr. Shaw here at 28 and Chriskelly at 26. He had a 3-point. Chriskelly had a 3-point lead at the beginning of the month. Finishes 2 points behind this month, so he will have a 1-point margin of victory in the at-large bid standings. And since there was 1 month when Shaw did not play all, he played 11 of his 12 games. It came up 1 game short, which is that 1 point. So uh, I'm sure that's going to be kicking him for a little while, not getting that 12th game in to at least force the tie, force the tiebreakers. Then they got to calculate 8 months of opponents' win percentages. So don't envy whoever has that job. I mean, it's obviously all in the spreadsheet, but thank you to everybody for tuning in and for watching and for subscribing to our Twitch chat. And that's going to wrap it up here for this evening. Congratulations to Chriskelly on qualifying for the Online Championship Series playoffs, which will take place probably start end of October, early November. There will be an official draft process where people will pick out their pairings and matchups based on their finishes. So stay tuned because obviously we're going to try and live stream as much of that as possible as well. Kind of like our own version of the NFL draft or whatever. So have a great night, everybody, and thanks for watching.